My family laughed at my dreams of success, until I became their biggest competitor. The air in grandfather's mansion thickened, wrapping around me like an unwelcome shroud. The long dining table, polished to a mirror finish, reflected the mounting tension in the room. Shadows danced across the faces of my family, mocking masks of unity that hid a whirlwind of ambition and rivalry. Here I was, Ava, the dreamer, trapped in this house of laughter that once filled my soul. Now twisted into a suffocating haze of anger and betrayal, I clenched my fists under the table, skin cold, pulse racing. My heart hammered, not just from facing them, but from realizing the ugly truth. They weren't family. They were enemies. Every chuckle seemed to echo my failures, pulling the fresh wounds of 1,000 past humiliations. I could still hear my brother's derisive remark, "Why don't you stick to your daydreams, Ava? The real world isn't for idealists." Each word stung deep like acid, dissolving what little hope I had left. They had carved their fortunes from my laughter, feasting on the whispers of my ambitions. My big ideas, once ridiculed, now felt like the cards I could play in this twisted game. The realization ignited a fire in my chest, hot and relentless. Clicks of forks against porcelain didn't just punctuate each course. They amplified the bitterness simmering within me. Why had I let them bully me for so long? My cousins may have exchanged polite smiles, but I saw the calculations swirling in their eyes. They were weighing how to tear each other down, not build one another up. This gathering felt less like a family reunion and more like a chess match, the stakes higher than I ever imagined. When would it be my turn to move, to call checkmate on their precious little world? A deep breath filled my lungs as I caught a glimpse in the ornate gilded mirror across the room. My reflection was fierce, ready to confront the demons that danced in shadows, a facade of success built on my naivete. I could expose the scandal hidden behind their polished lives, a story buried so deep it would send shockwaves through our family tree. The adrenaline coursed through me, an intoxicating rush that drowned out the bide my time. Would I confront them now, or play the long game, waiting for the right moment to strike? The tension climbed, heavy and sweet, thick as fog. I could taste the simmering promise of revenge. The forks paused, eyes glanced around, uncertain. Something had shifted. They could sense the storm brewing within me. My thoughts raced ahead of my heart, spinning webs of plots and possibilities. I would not be laughed at again. Not today, and not ever. The truth hung there, tantalizingly close, begging to be released. As laughter faded into the shadows, a silent vow tucked itself in the corners of my mind. Vengeance would be mine, and I was no longer the underdog. I was ready to play their game and turn the tables. Would they recognize their mistakes before it was too late? Or would they perish in oblivion of their own making? Hey, before we continue with this story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss out on any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're there, leave that powerful like that. Helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. And hey, if you like being the first to know and don't want to miss a thing, I have something special for you. You can join our premium story group, where you get early access to all videos, exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, and the chance to watch everything without ads. It's like having a VIP pass to the most intense and emotional stories before anyone else sees them. To join, just head down to the comments, click the special link, follow the steps, and start enjoying all the exclusive stuff. Don't wait too long. Spots are limited, and this is the best way to really dive deep into the stories you love. The laughter faded. The table grew quiet, tension thickening like a fog. I could feel their eyes on me, waiting, sensing the shift in the air. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat drumming the rhythm of my. Carrie! I leaned forward, ready to unleash the truth I had kept buried. This was my moment. Then the door creaked open, slicing through the silence like a blade. All heads turned. In walked Morgan, the family lawyer, my supposed ally, my confidant. His face was pale, eyes wide, as he stammered, "Ava, you need to come with me. It's urgent." I barely heard him. My mind raced. What could be more urgent than this? I held on to my rage, unwilling to let anyone, even Morgan, derail my plans. "What's going on?" I demanded, the edge in my voice sharper than glass. He lingered at the doorway, shifting nervously. "Please, just follow me." I glanced back at my family, their smirking faces now masked with curiosity. I stood, unsure. Part of me was terrified of what lay ahead, but the fire of revenge pressed me forward. I strode past Morgan, my pulse quickening. He led me outside, the crisp air biting into my skin. My heart raced, anxiety thickening the air around me. "What is it, Morgan?" I snapped, the urgency in his tone setting me on edge. "Just tell me." His expression darkened, and dread settled in the pit of my stomach. "Ava, there's something you need to know. It's about your father." My breath caught, a shiver crawling down my spine. "What about him? Your father? He wasn't who you thought he was. The business he built, it was built on lies, illegal activities, and..." He hesitated. I shoved my hands into my pockets, nails digging into my palms. "And what?" I growled, my voice echoing off the stone walls. "He had connections, criminal ties. I've been protecting the family's reputation, but it's worse than I thought. It's all coming to a head now." Morgan's voice trembled, his hands wringing together. I felt the ground shift beneath me. "What do you mean, it's coming to a head? Just tell me." He took a step closer, lowering his voice. "Your name, it's been dragged into this. The company's dirty dealings were funneled through your projects. The dreams you had, they weren't your own. They were used to mask the truth." A chill wrapped around my heart. "What? That's not possible," I barked, shaking my head, desperate to deny it. But he kept talking, revealing a tangled mess of deception. As he spoke, reality cracked open around me, my father's shadow darkening every step I'd taken. I was tied to him, tangled in his lies like a marionette on strings. My dreams, my ambitions, who was I kidding? They weren't mine. They were part of the scheme I never even knew existed. Suddenly, my family erupted from the mansion, alarms seeping into their laughter. They were shouting my name. Chaos descended. "Get back inside," I roared, heart racing faster, trapped between my mounting dread and my furious need for revenge. But it was too late. Morgan's eyes widened, disbelief painted across his face. "Ava, we have to go. They can't find out." Then, a voice I recognized broke through the clamoring noise. My brother stepped forward, eyes piercing. "You think this is a joke, Ava? You have no idea what you've done." The puzzle pieces slid into place, and I felt the crushing weight of betrayal. "What are you talking about?" My voice cracked, panic flooding my senses. In that moment, silence enveloped us all, hope and fear twisted inside me. Betrayed by my own family, my past wrapped around me tighter than a noose. I was standing on the precipice of oblivion, the storm brewing, ready to swallow me whole. And then it hit me. Who could I trust? I stared at Morgan, questioning his loyalty. Fear gripped my heart as I realized nothing was as it seemed. I was spiraling into darkness, teetering on the edge, longing for answers that were hopelessly out of reach. The silence hung heavy, but the chaos in my head was deafening. Morgan's words bled into my thoughts, twisting everything I thought I knew. Betrayed by my father, my dreams mired in deceit, it felt like my insides were on fire, a mix of rage and fear threatening to consume me. I was trapped. "What do you mean?" I shot at Morgan, frustration snapping at the edges of my words. "What else are you hiding?" I could feel my family's eyes bore into me like daggers, but all I could focus on was the pulse of betrayal that throbbed in my ears. Then, my brother broke through the noise, his expression darkening. "You have no idea what's at stake here," he shouted, voice echoing against the mansion's stone walls. He stepped closer, eyes wide with anger. "You have to leave, now!" Suddenly, the night sky lit up with headlights cutting through the darkness. The sound of tires screeching against gravel clawed at my senses. My heart raced as I turned to see a black SUV tearing down the driveway. My gut twisted with instinctual dread. Before I could process it, the vehicle screeched to a stop, and a figure emerged, a man in a sharp suit, too slick, too polished. He moved with confidence, like a predator stalking prey. My stomach twisted. I had no idea who he was, but the air around him crackled with threat. "Find her," he barked at someone inside the vehicle. My pulse quickened as two burly men jumped out, their faces set with grim determination. Panic hit me like a wave. "What's happening? Who is that?" I gasped, eyes darting between Morgan and my brother. The realization sank in. This wasn't just family drama. This was danger, real and imminent. "Ava," Morgan's tone turned frantic, urging me to move. "We need to go, now." But I stood frozen, confusion twisting my thoughts. "What are you talking about?" I shouted, desperate for clarity. I was bombarded with questions, but all I could see were the two looming figures moving closer, their eyes cold and calculating. Then my brother lunged at me, grabbing my arm. "You can't stay. They know. You have to trust me." His panic sent chills down my spine. Something was wrong. I pulled away from his grip, heart hammering. "What do you mean they know?" My voice queried with uncertainty. Morgan's face was pale, fear etched into his features. "Ava, your father didn't just have connections. There's a reason your name is involved. You were part of it, your projects. It all ties back to him. They think you're a threat." As the truth settled like a heavy blanket over me, something snapped inside. My dreams weren't just built on lies. They were entangled in something far darker. Before I could react, the men sprinted toward us, each step echoing like a drumbeat of impending doom. I turned, adrenaline surging. "Run!" I shouted, gesturing wildly. I didn't know where we were going, but I couldn't stay. My brother and Morgan hesitated. That moment was all it took. The men lunged for me, and I bolted. My feet hit the ground, scrambling towards the trees at the edge of the yard, breathless gasps piercing the air. But just as I reached the shadowed cover of the woods, a shout rang through the night. "Ava, stop!" I stumbled, glancing back. It was my brother, his face contorted in panic. But it didn't matter. I had to keep running. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw it, a glint of metal like a flash of lightning. My world narrowed to that moment. Sound tearing through the stillness, a gunshot. Time froze, my heart dropped, an icy hand gripping my chest. I hadn't even registered the fear on my brother's face until he fell. The impact jolted through me, a sharp scream caught in my throat. "No, Jackson!" I screamed, rushing back towards him, pure terror gripping my lungs. Everything I thought I knew shattered in an instant. I was running back into the storm I wanted to escape, my brother lying lifeless on the ground. Morgan was shouting, but all I heard was silence, a vast empty void drowning out the world. Who had shot? Why? My throat tightened. Betrayal coursed through my veins, but deep down, a darker realization settled in. The danger wasn't just external. This was a betrayal woven into our very blood. The people I thought I could trust, were they ever truly on my side? As I knelt beside Jackson, reality hit me like a freight train. All the connections, all the plots. It wasn't just my father's legacy I was fighting against. It was my own, buried deeper than I'd ever dared to dig. The echo of that gunshot reverberated in my head, the world spinning wildly out of control. I was caught in a web of lies, unable to escape. And as I looked into my brother's vacant eyes, all I could think was, who am I? Really? Who have I always been? I knelt beside Jackson's still body, my world crashing down with each breath. The echo of that gunshot pulsed in my ears, drowning out everything else. My heart raced, pounding hard against my chest like a drum of impending doom. I wanted to scream, to shake him awake, but all I felt was the icy grip of fear wrapping around my throat. I looked up, scanning the chaotic scene. Morgan was frantic, shouting at the men moving toward me, desperation spilling from his lips. "Ava, we can't stay here. We have to go." But I wasn't going anywhere. My brother was. I could barely breathe. My thoughts screamed in my head, a cacophony of denial and rage. "Who did this? Who shot him? Just run!" Morgan shouted, his eyes wide, but all I could see was my brother lying there, blood seeping into the grass, pooling dangerously. I crawled closer, my fingers shaking as I touched his shoulder, the warmth slipping away. "Jackson, please, wake up!" The world blurred around me. All I felt was emptiness. The laughter of my family became a distant memory, a cruel taunt echoing in the back of my mind. And then, like a knife cutting through my grief, a voice broke through the haze. "Ava." It was my brother's voice, but colder, shadowed by something menacing. I turned to find my brother standing beside Morgan. No, not Jackson, his identical twin, Jason, the brother I hadn't seen in years. He looked different, twisted and dark, a smirk curling on his lips that I'd never understood before. "What are you doing here?" I gasped. "You're not supposed to. Did you think I'd let you play this game without me?" he said, eyes glinting, fury mixing with something like amusement. "You are just a pawn in a game far bigger than you could ever understand. Get away from me." Panic surged like poison. I looked between the two boys, the shadows, crossing the features of even their familiar faces. "This isn't the time for games." "Not a game, Ava. This is a reckoning," Jason hissed, and I felt ice stinging my skin. They were coming closer. Morgan was shouting, but I couldn't hear him. Chaos, grit and urgency filled the air. I felt lost, trapped between fury and betrayal. "What do you mean?" I demanded, voice trembling. "What do you know?" "It's all connected, Ava. Our father, his secrets run deep. You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into." The intensity in Jason's eyes burned like fire, igniting something dark inside of me. Before I could respond, the men from the SUV broke through the trees, their faces twisted by purpose. "Search the area. Find her," one yelled, loud and commanding. And just like that, Jason lunged forward, grabbing my wrist. "We need to go, now." His grip was unyielding, and I felt the chaos swirling, the world catching fire around us. "No," I yelled, fighting against him, trying to break free. "You don't know what you're doing. You can't trust them." But his eyes were different now, wild. "You don't get it, do you? They're not the enemy, Ava. We—" "What?" I demanded, feeling the world tilt dangerously off balance. "What are you saying?" But then the shadows closed in. One of the men moved fast. I barely had time to process it before Jason shoved me aside. "Run," he shouted. The ground shook as a gunshot rang out again, loud and sharp. Jason fell, striking the ground the same way Jackson had. Lifeless, my heart twisted inside me, tears spilling as I turned to run. But nothing made sense anymore. In my panic, I felt the sting of betrayal cutting deeper. I stumbled through the woods, branches tearing at my skin, the silence of night crushing around me. Was Jason really working against me? Had Jackson known? Tears blurred my vision as I pushed through, hands shaking, gasping for breath. I was spiraling into a darkness I couldn't escape. The truth hung like a weight around my neck. Who could I trust? Morgan? Jackson? Jason? Just raw panic and unanswered questions clawed at my heart. The shadows of betrayal swallowed me whole, the forest closing in. I was lost, and the only path ahead was shrouded in doubt and fear. I stumbled through the woods, heart pounding, branches clawing at my clothes, as panic surged. My breath came in harsh gasps, a burning pit of terror in my stomach. What had just happened? Jason, gone in the blink of an eye. I felt unmoored, like a ship lost at sea, tossing and turning without direction. But ahead, a flicker of light peeked through the trees. I strained my eyes, willing it to be a way out, a chance for escape. A small cabin? A figure moved past the window. My heart raced. Was it safety or another threat? I edged closer, instincts screaming at me. I had to know. As I crept forward, I could hear them, voices rising and falling like a tide, a conversation laced with tension. I pressed my back against the rough bark of a tree, straining to listen. The words began to cut through the chaos in my head, twisting the knife deeper. Get her before she gets the chance to tell anyone. I froze. My blood ran cold. They knew I was alive. Another voice, gruff and angry. What if she finds out about him? We can't let that happen. My mind spun. Who were they talking about? Who was him? I had to keep moving, but dread wrapped around my throat. The betrayal wasn't just from my family. It felt bigger, deeper. But was it Morgan? Was he working with them? Fear clawed at my insides as I stayed hidden, desperate for answers. Then, a shout echoed. Ava, we know you're out there. It was Morgan. I clenched my fists, ready to bolt if I had to. Don't make this harder than it is. Just come out. We can protect you. Protect me? I didn't know if I could trust him anymore. I stayed silent, heart hammering. Maybe I should run. Or maybe confronting him would finally bring clarity. But what if he turned on me? The fear of the unknown paralyzed me. Before I could decide, the door swung open. Morgan stood there, eyes wide, scanning the trees. Ava, please, he shouted again. Something in his voice. Desperation or fear? I was torn. Suddenly, two men burst out of the cabin, moving with purpose. I ducked deeper behind the trunk, my breath caught, panic bubbling in my throat. Were they hunting me? I couldn't stay hidden forever. Did you find her? One man barked, eyes darting. I watched them, muscles tensed like a coiled spring, ready to bolt. We don't have much time. If she talks, Morgan interrupted, voice shaky. I'll handle it. Just give me a moment. What was he planning? I could see him grabbing something from his pocket. A gun? No, it was a phone. I squinted, trying to catch every word as he pressed it to his ear. No, she seems unaware of everything. I think I can manipulate her. But I need backup. My stomach dropped. What did that mean? Was he playing both sides? The betrayal felt acid in my veins, burning through every thought I had. I couldn't take it anymore. I burst out from behind the tree, shouting, "What the hell is going on?" All eyes snapped to me, surprise morphing into something darker. Morgan's expression shifted, confusion replaced by cold determination. Ava, no! Before I could process what was happening, one of the men lunged for me, but I sidestepped, adrenaline surging. Morgan shouted, "Stop! We don't need to do this." The man's hand shot out, grabbing my wrist with a savage strength. A rush of panic crashed over me as I struggled, trying to break free. But then, the sudden crack of a shot echoed in the night, a bullet whining past my ear. I froze, looking back just in time to see Morgan drop, blood blooming on his chest like dark petals. "Let her go," the man snarled, releasing me as I gasped, backing away in horror. I felt like I was watching someone else's nightmare unfold. Morgan collapsed to the ground, and I fell to my knees beside him, panic coursing through my veins. "No, no, no, what did you do?" My voice trembled. He struggled to speak, blood pooling beneath him. "Ava, it was never who you thought I was. You were meant to." But he coughed, blood spilling from his lips. The world around me spiraled, the breath catching in my throat. "What? What were you going to say?" He looked up at me, his eyes clouded with pain and something else. Fear, regret? I searched for clarity in his gaze, but it faded too quickly. The man who shot him stepped closer, a smirk on his face. "You really thought you couldn't be touched? You're just a pawn like the rest." The words hit me like a freight train. A pawn? What did that even mean? With Morgan gone, I was left questioning everything. I staggered back. "No, you can't. He was protecting me. Or so you thought." The man chuckled darkly, a sound that twisted my insides. "Good luck figuring it out, princess." I turned to run, but the world tilted. Everything spun. Morgan lay still, eyes vacant, and the truth of his words crashed over me. What had he meant? Where did I fit into all this? I dashed into the darkness, but every step away from that cabin felt like stepping deeper into a trap, a web woven with lies, secrets, and death. And as I fled, the weight of betrayal crushed me. I wasn't just running from them anymore. I was running from myself. Everything I thought I knew shattered into pieces. Who was I? What was my true legacy? The storm of uncertainty swallowed me whole, leaving despair clawing at my heart as I raced into the unknown. I stumbled through the trees, heart racing, breath coming in desperate gasps. Shadows twisted and darted around me, but all I could think was escape. Escape from the chaos of the cabin, from what happened to Morgan, from the betrayal that swallowed me whole. Each step was weighted with fear, and I felt the cool night air biting at my skin. I crashed into the underbrush, pushing branches aside as I ran deeper into the woods. The darkness wrapped around me, but it felt safer than that bright spot of horror I'd just left behind. My thoughts raced, a desperate attempt to make sense of the jumbled mess that was my life. Jason and Jackson, my brothers, had turned against me in the most brutal way. Had they known? Behind me, voices broke through the trees, frantic and searching. "Ava, we know you're there." It was the man who shot Morgan, his voice dripping with menace. I darted further into the darkness, hearing their footsteps crashing through the leaves. They were hunting me, and I wouldn't let them catch me. Not like that. Not again. I felt the heat of anger bubbling up within me. I was done running. But just as I rounded a tree, I skidded to a stop. Light flickered in the distance ahead, illuminating a clearing. Then I saw it, a car, the back door wide open. My breath caught as I felt the sickening realization. Was this a trap or a lifeline? I decided I had to risk it. I bolted toward the vehicle, adrenaline pumping. If I could just get in and drive away. Just as I reached the door, the driver popped out, a woman with wild hair and eyes full of fury. "Get in!" she yelled, urgency in her voice. I hesitated for a heartbeat, then jumped in, slamming the door behind me. "Go! They're coming!" I shouted, looking back into the trees, just in time to see them emerge, their faces dark with determination. The woman punched the gas, and we lurched forward. But before I could express my gratitude, she swerved sharply onto a narrow path, barely avoiding a tree. My heart leaped into my throat. "Who are you?" I demanded, fear battling with confusion. "Shut up and trust me," she snapped, her hands gripping the wheel like a lifeline. Her voice was all too familiar, a sickening reminder of another betrayal. I recognized the edge in her tone. "It can't be," I whispered, light dawning on me. You're working with them." "Work with who?" she spat. Her anger turned toward me even as she swerved again. "If I wanted you caught, I wouldn't have come back to pick you up." That stopped me. I realized this was more than just a rescue. It was part of a plan. You were in on it from the start. You lied to me too." "I did what I needed to survive." She shot me a fierce look, one I couldn't ignore. But confusion settled heavy in the pit of my stomach. Suddenly, headlights flooded the rearview mirror. That black SUV was behind us, closing in fast. "They're gaining." My pulse thundered in my ears. "Hold on," she yelled, jamming the accelerator. The car shot forward, trees blurring past. I clenched my teeth, fear mingling with anger. Betrayal after betrayal. Who could I trust? The car raced down the winding path, branches scraping against the sides. Then, out of nowhere, a gunshot rang out. I flinched, feeling the shot echo through my bones. The woman jerked the wheel. "Why are they shooting at us?" I yelled over the roar of the engine. "Because they think you know something you don't," she screamed back, eyes frantic. My blood ran cold. What did they think I knew? What were they hiding? The SUV was gaining, tires screeching. I looked back. The men were closing in, intent on catching us. And then I understood. You're here for the information, aren't you? You're just using me. You need to stop thinking like that. Just hold on, she shouted again. And the car lurched violently. With a deafening crash, the car hit something and skidded, losing control. I screamed as we soared off the road, the world spinning into chaos. The ground rushed up to meet us, the jagged rocks and trees closing in. I braced for the impact, but as we slammed down, darkness swallowed me whole. Everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, the world was muted, colors swirling. I blinked hard, panic rising as I struggled to sit up. My muscles screamed in protest. The car's wreckage surrounded me. Twisted metal and shattered glass painting a gruesome landscape. Through the dim haze, I saw the woman slumped over the steering wheel, blood pooling beneath her. "No, no," I gasped, crawling over to her. "Wake up!" I shook her, but she didn't respond. Grief clawed at my heart, but I couldn't give in to despair. Not now. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps shattered the stillness. Instinct kicked in, and I crawled deeper into the wreckage, heart racing again. My breath caught as I watched shadowy figures emerge from the woods. "I told you to get her," one of the men growled, scanning the area. "We need to finish this before she finds out the truth." The truth. My stomach dropped. What truth? The weight of every question crashed down like a wave. My life felt like a house of cards, ready to tumble. They were talking about me. I shrank back, adrenaline surging through me, igniting a fire within. I was cold, terrified, but rage bubbled up to meet the fear. I didn't know what they were after, but I wouldn't give them the power to take everything from me. With one eye on the men and the other on the way ahead, I clutched a piece of metal at my side, heart hammering. I wouldn't go down without a fight. Their voices faded as fear locked me in place. The last vestiges of safety drifted away, leaving me in the nexus of my growing dread. What secret were they hiding about me? And before I could grasp it, before realization could settle, they were closing in. I was trapped, left questioning everything and everyone. I felt the fog of betrayal thickening around me again, every heartbeat echoing through the wreckage as I prepared for what came next. I was trapped, surrounded by the wreckage, the shadows creeping closer. The men's voices slithered through the trees, each word tightening the noose of dread around my throat. I felt panic coursing through my veins. I couldn't stay here. I needed answers. I needed to know what they wanted. Every second spent in that wreck meant danger creeping closer. But as I crouched low, I heard Morgan's voice, faint but clear. "Ava, we need to get out of here." "They'll find you." His body lay limp in the dirt, the life slipping from him, but he was still fighting for me. The betrayal stung, but I couldn't let him die without knowing. I had to confront the truth, even if I had a knife in my back. Figuratively, of course. The men had started to spread out, moving like hungry wolves, sniffing my scent. The moments stretched, suspended in fear. I glanced from one figure to the next, each shadowy outline morphing into the monstrous beings of my worst dreams. But then a rustle broke my focus. The tall man, in the front, raised a hand. "I don't want to waste any more time. We'll find her. All of this." He gestured to the wreck. "This is your fault, Morgan. If she's dead, it's on you." "Don't," I shouted, adrenaline surging. I couldn't stay. I had to run. I stumbled backward and ducked behind the wreckage. But in that moment, the chaos that had taken over shifted. The danger morphed into something unspeakably worse. "Finish it." At that moment, one of the men, a brute with eyes like coal, turned sharply and aimed a gun squarely at Morgan, who was still gasping, desperate. "Wait, you don't have to do this," I cried out again. But before I could finish, the roar of the gun cut through the night like a knife. My heart stopped. Everything in me froze, twisted, and fell apart as the bullet struck Morgan. He fell silent, crumpling like paper. "No!" I screamed, rushing forward, the world blurring. I reached for him, but it was too late. Blood blossomed around him. But I was too late. That's what happens when you're a traitor, the brute said casually, shoving the gun back in his waistband. Everything inside me shattered. Trust, hope, the last strands of my sanity. An explosive rage ripped through me, raw and wild. "You killed him!" I screamed. But I wasn't ready for the explosion that happened next. It came from behind me. A loud crack split the air. I whirled around just in time to see another man. One I thought was on my side, gripping a bloody knife and a face twisted with anger. "What?" I stuttered, confusion crashing over me like a wave. "You? It couldn't be. It didn't make any sense. You think you're special, huh? You think this ends with you?" He lunged toward me, the knife glinting. A sob clawed at my throat. "Everything you've ever known is a lie. You never were who you thought you were." His words hit like a punch. I staggered back, my mind whirling. "What are you talking about?" But before he could explain, gunshots rang out again, and I found myself stumbling, darkness closing in on me, the last flashes of life fading with each breath. I fell, heart throbbing as hazy memories of laughter, dreams, and family flooded my mind. Everything, exactly everything I've built, was a lie. I felt cold steel at my skin, the blade grazing my throat. Your father, your brother, they were never family, Ava. They were using you. Panic roared inside me as I lay crumpled on the ground, the truth tearing through my mind. Every choice I made, all for what? Trusting him, believing in the people I loved. It was all an illusion, a cruel trick. The ground beneath me felt like it was giving way. My heart raced as I tried to piece it all together. Who was I really? I gasped for air, drowning in despair and confusion. And then, a new voice broke through. "Stop!" They turned, and I stole a split second to scramble back. It was Jason, the other brother, the one I thought was gone. He had a look in his eyes, one that held so many secrets, betrayal threading through them, as he stepped forward. "You're not getting her!" "Stay back!" I yelled. But as the other men turned toward him, their expressions fierce and unapologetic, the weight of the truth crashed down like a hammer. Was every person I trusted a puppet in a grand scheme? Were my dreams a facade? And then, like thunder, everything shattered. Jason's true identity, the knives, the blood, it all spiraled. I was caught, tangled in webs of lies and pain, the very things that had kept me alive. I was left gasping for answers, lost in a vortex of betrayal I didn't see coming. The truth lingered heavy, slipping further from my grasp. I was spiraling into the unknown, trapped between shadows and doubt. And Jason, the monster I wanted to trust, stood before me, betraying every promise I ever made to myself. All I could see was confusion. As darkness swallowed the world around me, one terrifying thought surged through my mind. What if they were right? What if I was never meant to survive? I was trapped, surrounded by wreckage, shadows creeping closer. The men's voices slithered through the trees, each word tightening the noose of dread around my throat. Panic coursed through my veins as I thought of Morgan, his lifeless body an echo of every trust shattered. I was losing everything, every chance at survival. But then, Jason stepped forward, and I felt a strange mix of relief and fury. "You're not getting her," he shouted. His voice was loud, but fear clawed at my insides. My heart raced as the men turned their attention on him, their faces twisted with determination. Did I trust Jason? Did I have a choice? "Let's just finish this," one of the men growled, raising his gun, and I froze. "She knows too much." "What do you mean? I don't know anything," I screamed, throwing my hands up. My body shook with adrenaline, and every instinct screamed to run. But then, in a flash, everything changed. A crack echoed, sharper than any sound I'd ever heard, and Jason crumpled to the ground like a rag doll. "No!" I shrieked, rushing forward. My heart pounded in my chest. Panic turned to disbelief. "What did you do?" His lifeless eyes stared back at me, and I felt the darkness closing in. My throat tightened as fury filled me like fire. I spun around, but the men were moving, closing in on me, taking quick, relentless steps. "Grab her," one shouted, lunging at me. I ducked and rolled, the ground rough against my skin. I surged to my feet, adrenaline crashing through me like a tidal wave. I was done hiding. I could fight. I couldn't let them take me. But just as I was about to charge back, I heard another voice from behind. Me, calm and smooth. Well, well, if it isn't my favorite little pawn. I turned, dread pooling in my stomach. It was my father, standing casually, a smug grin plastered across his face. "You didn't really think I'd let you escape this, did you?" "Dad," I gasped, "what are you doing here?" My mind spun. I had trusted him. I thought he was dead. "Oh, I'm very much alive, Ava. I always was." His eyes glinted like knives, cutting through the chaos around us. "Did you really think Jason was here to save you? He's just another piece in this game." Everything around me felt like it was tilting. Betrayal sliced through my heart. "What are you talking about? You set this up?" "I had to make sure you were ready." He stepped closer, and I could see the satisfaction in his gaze. "They needed to see how far you'd go for your little dreams. And you've done wonderfully." A wave of nausea washed over me. "You have to be kidding me. You used me? The world isn't kind to dreamers, sweetheart. But you've got potential. I thought you could handle it." Anger flared inside me, burning hot and fierce. "You chose this? You manipulated your own children?" "Children?" He scoffed. Contempt dripped from his words. "You're pawns. It's always been about the game, and now you're at the center of it." Before I could process his words, the other men moved in, closing the space, eyes full of greed and hunger. My father grinned wider, the light catching the edge of a blade in his hand. "It's time you realized who you really are, Ava." Then, like a switch flipped, the darkness consumed me. They lunged toward me, but I pushed back hard, shoving through the fog of betrayal. They were all against me. Every bond I'd built was shattering like glass, and I felt caught in the storm, losing control. The world exploded in chaos. I darted around, and everything blurred together, voices shouting, bodies shifting, nothing making sense. I spun, eyes darting from face to face, from ally to foe. And then, just as quickly as it began, it all stopped. Silence enveloped us, as my father's final words rang hollow in my ears. Who was I? What was left to fight for? I was lost in a sea of betrayal, the very foundation of my existence dropping away. "Run, Ava," echoed in my mind, but I wasn't moving. Everything narrowed down to confusion, doubt, and one burning question. Could I trust anyone anymore? As they closed in, shadows gathered all around. And that's when something struck me, hard. I gasped as pain sheared through my body, my vision fading to black again. Before darkness took me, I realized I was destined to face the ghosts of my past, and they would come at a cost I wasn't yet ready to pay. I was trapped, surrounded by wreckage, shadows creeping closer. The men's voices slithered through the trees, each word tightening the noose of dread around my throat. Panic coursed through my veins as I thought of Morgan, his lifeless body an echo of every trust shattered. I was losing everything, every chance at survival. But then, Jason stepped forward, and I felt a strange mix of relief and fury. "You're not getting her," he shouted. His voice was loud, but fear clawed at my insides. My heart raced as the men turned their attention on him, their faces twisted with determination. Did I trust Jason? Did I have a choice? "Let's just finish this," one of the men growled, raising his gun, and I froze. "She knows too much." "What do you mean?" "I don't know anything," I screamed, throwing my hands up. My body shook with adrenaline, and every instinct screamed to run. But then, in a flash, everything changed. A crack echoed sharper than any sound I'd ever heard, and Jason crumpled to the ground like a rag doll. "No!" I shrieked, rushing forward. My heart pounded in my chest. Panic turned to disbelief. "What did you do?" His lifeless eyes stared back at me, and I felt the darkness closing in. My throat tightened as fury filled me like fire. "You killed him," I screamed, my voice cracking. But I wasn't ready for the explosion that happened next. It came from behind me. A loud crack split the air. I whirled around just in time to see my father standing there, aimed gun in hand. "Dad?" I gasped, my stomach twisting. "You?" "Oh, Ava," he said, a grin spreading across his face. "You're just like me, so eager, so naive. But I needed to make sure this would end." "What are you talking about?" I stumbled back, confusion flooding my brain. "You just shot your own son." "He was a liability," my father said, dismissing Jason's body with a wave of his hand. "You need to understand, this has always been about control." I felt the world spinning. My heart raced, but beneath the anger was a chill creeping through me. "Control? You're murdering your own children. What kind of monster are you?" "The kind who survives," he replied, coolly, stepping closer. "And it's time you learned the truth. You were never meant to escape this." Everything flipped. The betrayal cut deeper, sharper than any knife. "What do you mean?" But before he could respond, the ground shook with the sound of dozens of heavy boots. The men who had been chasing me emerged from the trees, surrounding us in a circle of menace. "Ava," one shouted, grinning wickedly. "You're just what we need. Your bloodline is the key." "What?" I stumbled backward, eyes darting from face to face. "What are you talking about?" "Your father thinks he's smart, but he's just a pawn too." The man's voice dripped with venom as he pointed at me. "You'll fulfill the legacy, and we're not letting you walk away." My throat tightened. I swallowed hard. "Legacy? What legacy?" But before I could process their words, my father lunged forward, grabbing my arm painfully. "You have no idea what I've sacrificed for you. You need to understand." Suddenly, the blast of a gun rang out. They opened fire, the chaos erupting around me. I ducked, feeling the rush of wind from a bullet whizzing by. My heart raced as I fought to stay upright, dodging behind another tree, the chilling laughter of the men ringing in my ears. "Ava," one of the men shouted, "escape while you can, but no, you are tied to this family forever." A sickening realization churned in my stomach. Everything I thought I knew, the love, the ties, the dreams, were poison. "You're all insane!" I managed to shout, desperation clawing deep inside. "Welcome to the family, little girl," my father growled, his grip tightening. In that moment, I felt a fury unlike anything before. I wasn't just fighting to escape. I was fighting for my very soul. But as bullets continued to rain down, I felt the icy fingers of doubt creeping in. Who was I? What did I even have left? They were right. My bloodline tied me to this horror, and it crushed me beneath the weight. And then I heard it. A piercing wail of sirens echoed in the distance, getting closer. The men froze, their expressions shifting from confidence to panic. I had one chance. I took off, barreling into the unknown, my legs pumping beneath me, heart racing, every ounce of determination driving me forward. But even as I ran, the unsettling truth lingered. A darkness deeper than I had ever imagined clouded my every thought. I was in a storm of doubt, racing toward a fate I couldn't control. And just like that, uncertainty swallowed me whole. The sirens faded, and all that remained was the despair of unanswered questions. I was left sprinting, desperate, not just for safety, but for the truth, buried beneath layers of betrayal. The air hung thick with tension as I stood my ground, heart pounding. My father's smug grin sent a chill through me. I could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on my shoulders, a decision that could seal my fate. "You think you're clever, don't you?" he sneered. I took a step back, every instinct screaming at me to run, to escape this nightmare. But I couldn't. Not this time. With Morgan's body lying cold, a fire ignited within me. The screams of betrayal echoed in my ears, and I wasn't going to let this end without a fight. Ava, you're not just any pawn in my game. You are my legacy, he declared, raising his gun. My pulse quickened, but instead of fear, I felt rage. No, I roared, fists clenched at my sides. I wasn't about to let their insanity consume me. There was too much at stake. Every twisted scheme, every betrayal, it all led me here, an unexpected chance to rise from the ashes. Suddenly, the sirens grew louder, piercing through the chaos. It felt like a lifeline, a reminder of the world outside this nightmare. My enemies hesitated, eyes darting towards the approaching sound, and I seized my moment. Your legacy ends here, I yelled, pushing through the fog of doubt and fear. With a surge of adrenaline, I dashed towards the woods, leaving the chaos behind me. Behind me, gunshots rang out. I sprinted, heart racing, the world blurring around me. Every branch I brushed against reminded me of how close I was to losing everything. The sirens echoed closer. But the weight of my father's betrayal felt heavier with each step. I burst through the trees and into the clearing, just as the headlights of police cars swept the area. Relief washed over me. There were faces, real concerned faces, emerging from the vehicles, shouting for us to freeze. "Get down! Show us your hands!" the officers commanded. Instinctively, a part of me wanted to run, but I lifted my hands, shaking. "I'm here. I need help." They moved in, deputies securing the area, while others rushed toward me. I felt a worn hand on my shoulder, steady and real. There was hope, a light breaking through the darkness that had consumed me. In that moment, everything came crashing down. My father, the men in black, their wicked laughter faded into the background. I was wanted for questioning, but at least I was alive. At least I could finally tell my side of the story. But as I looked back at the shadows of my former life, my brothers lost to the chaos, my father's legacy crumbling around me, a pang of sadness pierced through the relief. The truth was a heavy burden, but it was mine. I would forge ahead, defining myself, outside the shadow of their betrayal. As the officers guided me to safety, I glanced over my shoulder. The woods were still, whispering secrets of the ghosts I'd be haunted by forever. Beyond this crisis, there loomed unknown challenges. But for the first time, I felt the weight of betrayal transform into the strength to fight back. I would reclaim my story. I would stand against the ghosts of my past. And no uncertainty danced on the edge of my thoughts. One thing was clear. I was no longer just a pawn in their game. Jay, before you go, you must subscribe now to the channel. Don't miss out on any upcoming exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to help the algorithm and boost the channel. I want to hear from you. Flood the comments with your reactions, theories, and thoughts about this ending. Your voice matters. And please, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this unforgettable finale. Don't wait one more second to share. Stay right here after watching. Don't leave just yet. You can click on the next exciting story waiting at the end of the video. The adventure isn't over. There's always another thrilling chapter just ahead. And don't forget about our premium story group membership. It's the ultimate experience for true fans. You can unlock early access to all videos, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, and watch everything ad-free. Just find the special link in the comments, complete the payment, and dive deeper into the world of unforgettable, raw, and intense stories. Join us and embrace the journey ahead.